Welcome back, everybody. Eric Worre here, and I hope you got a lot of notes. There's a lot of content in what Marina shared in our first session. In this session, I'm going to give you kind of my point of view from 30 years of problem solving and how I learned to change my mind about it, how I learned to get better at it. I consider myself a very good problem solver in some areas of my life, not so good in other areas. Inside of network marketing, building an organization, very, very good. So let's talk about it. First thing I think you need to do is you need to reframe how you look at problems, because most people view problems as something to get away from. You want to have a life with no problems. You want to have what you consider to be peace. You want to chill. You want to not have issues. And if you think about a little baby has very simple problems. Problem number one is they're hungry. Problem number two is they're thirsty. Problem number three is they've gone to the bathroom, they need to be cleaned up. Problem number four is they're tired. Problem number five is they're cranky. Problem number six, they're bored, right? That's about it. That's about it. And then as you get older, you start growing, doing something, the problems change and they get bigger. They get more challenging. Jim Rohn said something to me. They said, don't wish things were easier. And I would say the same to all of you. Don't wish things were easier. Wish you were better. Wish you were stronger. So, first thing I would share with you is view problems as opportunities. That's hard to do, especially when you're trying to get away from a problem. If a problem's annoying, it's hard to see that as an opportunity. And some people say, well, everything happens for a reason. Well, that's part of this. Without problems, I wouldn't have become as strong as I am. Without problems, I wouldn't have been able to have the life that I live. Without problems, I wouldn't be the leader I am today. Without problems, I wouldn't be the man I am today. It was the problems that created the person I am today. The problems did. When I didn't have support, that problem forced me to become a better leader. When I was faced with huge adversity, it helped me become so much stronger, because now a little tiny issue, I'm hungry, it's almost invisible as a problem. It's not even a problem, it's just part of living. Some people have things happen to them in life and they let that problem define them. Somebody took advantage of them. That was a problem. And they let that define them. They let that become part of their story for the next 20 years. And they just tell everybody that they can find. Or they have a group blow up and they let that define them. Or they have a group leave and go to another company and they let that define them. Or they have an upline treat them poorly and they let that define them. And all they do is whine and complain about it versus solving that problem and being bigger than the problem. I heard a quote early on in my career from a guy named Johnny Daniel was his name. He said, you could tell the size of the problem by the size of, you could tell the size of the man by the size of the problem it takes to get him down. And I was like, wow. Because little tiny things were bugging me. You know, some people find something in a typo. They'll go crazy. Oh, I'm an English major. You can't have a typo like that and be a professional. Oh, come on, right? People will find the littlest thing and they'll make it their mission to live their life around that littlest thing. Don't major in minor things. Major in major things. So if you view problems as what they are, as a gift, as an opportunity, as a path to your future, you will approach them differently. I know I learned to. It took me a while to be able to do this because, you know, some of you have a real need for fairness. and justice. And if things aren't fair, you're gonna make it your mission to equalize the scales. If there isn't justice, then you're gonna try and create the justice. And people run around chasing all these ghosts instead of just being the leader that they're supposed to be and solving the problem. Sometimes somebody else's problem is not your problem to solve. Sometimes it is. Many times it's not. So problems are opportunities. There's a great book called The Obstacle is the Way, Ryan Holiday. I would recommend that book. The Obstacle is the Way. It will help you reframe problems as opportunities. The obstacle becomes the way. I think that's totally true. So I'm going to give you some concepts here when it comes to becoming an excellent problem solver. First, well, I'll put it here as a resource. The best defense is a fast offense. It's something I learned a long time ago. In other words, don't let a problem fester. Don't let a situation continue for too long. If you want to be a leader, if you see a problem, the first moment you see a problem in your organization, you need to deal with that problem that minute, that second. You cannot allow it to exist. If it's upline, if it's downline, if it's wherever it is, you see it the first time, you have to face it head on. The best defense really is a fast offense. Now, it starts with little tiny things. Let's say a person in your team is a gossip. It's and it sounds innocent. They get involved and they start gossiping about one person. And they just, oh, did you hear? I heard that so-and-so did da-da-da-da-da. And you hear the gossip, and some of you don't challenge it. You go, because gossip's kind of interesting. So you lean forward, oh, that's cool. Oh, I didn't know that. Thanks for telling me. And what happens is you start perpetuating a culture of backbiting, infighting, and gossip within your organization. It may or may not even be true. You may even repeat that story to somebody else so you sound cool. And now you've created a culture of gossip within your organization. And is that going to be productive for you and your team? Or is that going to be a cancer inside of your team? In my opinion, it's going to be a cancer inside of your team. So I'll give you some suggestions on this. Number one, zero tolerance from you as a leader. Now, if they come to you, what you would do, if I'm you, okay, here's my advice to you. They come to you with the gossip. You just say, listen, if you're not willing to say what you're going to say in front of that person, don't say it to me. And if you want to say it about that person, let's get on a three-way phone call and have a conversation with all of us. And go ahead and say what you're going to say. But do not allow this behind your back stuff to happen in your presence. Refuse to allow your standard to be broken. The best defense is to say, no, this is a no tolerance. I don't tolerate that type of stuff. Let's say, and it could be gossip, it could be intolerance, and it could sound like a joke, a racist joke or something. It could be negativity. Negativity within the organization. It's like, nah, this is not something, I'm not gonna be a part of this. You have to decide early on. I heard a story from Maya Angelou, one of my heroes, incredibly positive and inspirational person. If you ever know of her work, she passed away recently before I had a chance to meet her, which bummed me out. But she was hosting a party at her house. To illustrate this point, she was hosting a party at her house. And somebody told a insensitive joke. And she heard it. And the joke was at the expense of a particular group of people. And she stopped the party. Now, most people would laugh and say, hey, come on, check that. She stopped the party. And she said, I'm sorry, but you need to leave my house. And they said, oh, Miss Angela, I'm super, I didn't mean to offend, and I'm sorry, it won't happen again. She said, that's fine. We'll talk about it at some point. But for now, you need to leave my house. Wow. That's this. Zero tolerance for things that go beyond your standards. Now, within your group, if your upline treats you poorly, you need to not tolerate that and laugh it off. If somebody is disrespectful, you need to not stand for it. If your downline is negative or gossipy, or there's a bad culture that happens within your organization, you need to not stand for it. You need to make sure that you are setting a standard, number one, for negative behavior and positive behavior. You're setting your standard. But the best defense is speed. How much do you think that Maya Angelou asking that person to leave her house, how much do you think that had an impact on the other people that were in the house? Pretty big. It set a standard that we're not going to do that in this environment. We're going to lift each other up. So, speed is key. Zero tolerance is the best policy I know in order to be able to create a standard within your organization. Say no. Now, there's forgiveness, of course. There's conversation, of course. But if you don't allow it to happen in your presence. Now, let's say you hear that somebody in your organization is, and when I say all this stuff, I want you to understand something. I've made every mistake practically that you can make inside of my organization. So I am not speaking from a place of purity, lifetime purity. I'm speaking from a place of wisdom and experience and wanting to help you enjoy the same kind of thing. But let's say you hear somebody in your organization is gossiping or negative, but they don't do it to you. They don't do it in front of you, but they're doing it with other people. The same principle applies. You need to go to that person and say, I heard that you are saying this and this and this. Is that true? We can't have that. And here's why we can't have it. It's really important. Are you with me? Okay? So they'll usually deny it, but you've planted a seed. And if it happens again, I'll talk to you what to do when it happens again, and it likely does happen again, how to escalate your problem-solving abilities. So let's say somebody is sleeping around inside the group. Somebody is hooking up with team member after team member after team member. How long will it take before that becomes a negative situation within your organization? People meet and they fall in love. That's one thing. I'm talking about a habitual person just hooking up within the environment and wreaking havoc within the groups. You have a choice as a leader to tolerate that or to stand up against it. If someone shows up drunk at your company functions, how quickly should you respond to that situation? Immediately. Immediately. If your upline does something really bad, how quickly should you respond to that situation? Immediately. So whatever it happens to be, you understand? The principles remain the same. The symptoms will change. Negativity, gossip, distracted, looking at every possible thing all the time. Somebody being promiscuous, somebody abusing substances, somebody letting their ego get out of control, someone poaching other people's distributors, whatever it happens to be. You decide what it's going to be. So start with a zero tolerance. The best defense, fast offense. Go to them and challenge the issue and do your best to educate them why this is important. Okay? Then you're likely have to escalate. So let's say somebody's a gossip and you hear about it, or let's say they come to you and they gossip to you and you say, listen, that's just not something that we engage in this group. So if you want to talk about that person, I'll put them on the phone. Three of us can talk. I'm not saying you can't talk, but just don't do it behind somebody's back. Involve them in the conversation. And if you don't, I will. I'll call them and tell them what you're about to say to me or what you just said to me. Okay? They will be petrified of that because they do not want that confrontation. They want to be able to talk about somebody behind their back. So you challenge it, okay? And let's say, okay, I won't do it. But then you hear they did it with somebody else after your conversation. Then you go to them again and said, I thought we talked about this. I think we need to get this person on the phone. Let's have this conversation. Let's find out if it's even true. Because this is not something that we do inside of our organization. Okay? Let's say, and they say, no, that's not necessary. It'll never happen again. It was a misunderstanding. People misread the situation. I didn't really say that. Fine. You hear it a third time. Now you call the other person first, and then you call that person and say, I have this person on the phone, and I've heard 3 times now you've said this story. So I want everybody to talk about it, and you publicly out them as a gossip. Okay? Let's say that doesn't work. Then what do? You need a bigger hammer. You might need to go upline and say, I have this problem. This person just won't stop. You might need to go to the company and say, higher ranks. You might need to go to the company and say, will you help me? And the last resort is you might need to ask them to not be a part of the group anymore, to disengage. You might need to create penalties for a person engaging in bad behavior. This is called real life personal problem solving 101 in network marketing. Set your standards. The best defense is a fast offense, zero tolerance, and then escalate. Go fast, get it fast, and escalate, because our ultimate goal here is to build a culture. That's our ultimate goal. So if you think about, and it might be helpful for all of you to make a little list of all the problems you have within your organization, within your company, within your growth. Some of them are going to be personal problems, your own stuff, and we all have our own stuff. Some of those are going to be relationship problems. Deal with some of this type of thing. There's communication that needs to happen. Some of it has to do with organizational issues, other people, culture, upline, downline, crossline, other companies, company relationships, those types of things. But the principles, again, remain the same. You set the standard. Zero tolerance when people break your standard. And then escalate. If they want to be in your orbit, then they have to agree to a certain code of conduct. And you have to be able to explain why that code of conduct is important. I'm going to give you some specific ones, but before I do that, with any basic problem, I want to give you a framework. If you get a problem, you need to ask yourself some questions, because I think questions are the key to being able to unlock solutions, right? So one is, what could I learn? In order to solve this problem, what could I learn? What could I learn? Is there somebody else who's done it? Could I look around? Another one is, what could I do? What could I do to solve this problem? What could I do? What could I learn, right? Who could I model? Who could I model? Who's somebody else who solves this problem like no problem? No big deal. They solve it. Who could I model? And then last question is, who could I ask? I have this problem. Who could I ask how to solve it? Okay? Here's the key, though. You want to become great at problem solving? The key is this. Don't ask first. Don't ask first. If you come to me and say, look, I've studied this and I've tried this and I've modeled this behavior and I still have this problem, and then you ask me, I have no problem answering. But if you come and ask me first, it's super lazy, and you haven't tried to learn anything, haven't tried to do anything, you haven't tried to model anybody, that gets a little old. You can do that one time, but guess where I'm going to send you back? Try this, learn this, model this, and then let me know how it goes. Sometimes if you said, listen, I've done all these different things, I need a bigger hammer. Will you come help me? Okay, fine. I've done this, I've learned this, I've modeled this, I need a bigger hammer. It's outside of my control. Then fine, okay? So don't ask first. Your job is to become a world-class problem solver. How much time have we gone so far in this session? 20 minutes? Okay, cool. We'll go about another 20 minutes or so, and then we'll do some questions with Marina. Hope you're getting value from this. This stuff changed my life. Now, I'm going to use an example on finances when it comes to solving problems. Marina mentioned some of this stuff, but I'm going to give you some real life issues that I had and what I see inside of network marketing. Let's say you have financial struggle. In this first little section here, we talked about how you deal with cultural issues. Set your standard, zero tolerance, best defense is a fast offense, right? And then escalate in order to be able to create a culture. But let's say you've got something that's outside of your team that is just taking up all of your time. I've had financial struggles. I've had time where I couldn't breathe. It was so tough. Let me give you some advice on this. And through this, I want you to see a formula, because a big part of problem solving is being creative. Marina talked about being resourceful. It's being creative, coming up with ways to cope with this stuff. So if you have financial struggles, a piece of advice number one, get small. You want to have freedom? Get small. And this might sound opposite to thinking big, but it isn't. I talk about people being stronger, thinking bigger all the time, but get small. Here's what I mean by getting small. Sometimes people have a big financial footprint. They have a big mortgage, they've got nice cars and big leases, and they've got all their credit cards, they've got fancy schools, they have fancy clothes, they have an image, right? Maybe they have a little vacation house, or they go out to nice restaurants, all these different kinds of things. And then something happens, something changes. Sometimes people get involved in network marketing, they want to go full time, and they can't because they have this huge lifestyle that they've built up, or they're a slave to this other job that's taking 80 hours a week, or whatever it happens to be. Let's say you just have Armageddon happen, you get fired, and your income goes to zero. And you haven't started building your network marketing business yet, but your income goes to zero. Or you have debt on top of zero income. What do? Step number one, you must immediately release your ego and get small. What I mean by that is you got to move out of the big house and you got to move into a much smaller house. You've got to let go of the fancy cars, even if it messes up your credit. You've got to get you'll let go of credit card debt if you any way you could possibly do it. You've got to stop going out to fancy restaurants. You have to stop all the other extra things that you think you need as far as image, because the biggest mistake that I see people doing when they have a problem, a financial problem, there's an old adage: if you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. And every month, if your cash flow slows down and you continue to dig, every month you put yourself in a worse and worse and worse and worse and worse situation. Sometimes you need to take all the cards and just let them fall to the ground. Get small as quickly as possible. If you want to build an entrepreneurial dynasty inside of network marketing, stay small for a while you're building your network marketing business, because small gives you options. You don't have all this pressure. You don't have all of these other mouths to feed. You don't have all this other stuff to take care of. You just focus on growing your business because your mortgage is small. Your house payment is small. You don't eat out. You don't have fancy stuff. You don't need name brand everything. Get small, number one. Number two, Marina talked about this too. Compartmentalize. Take all of your, because if you're in financial struggle, everybody's yelling at you, usually. Everybody's calling, everybody's saying, hey, you said the check was in the mail, where's our money? Everybody's yelling at you. Maybe you got legal issues on top of it, maybe you've got tax issues on top of it. What I learned to do, and I went through a season like this, and I hope to God it never happens again, but I compartmentalized. I put all of my drama, my struggle, into 3 hours a week. 3 hours a week. It was Monday, like 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Every week, I called every single creditor. I didn't look at the mail because it was too painful. All the certified letters and everything else. I would wait for everything to show up. I would open all the mail at 10 a.m. on Monday. I'd look at all of the different situations. I would call everybody. I would call every single person. At that time, I owed IRS. Called the IRS, talked to that person. I called every creditor I had, told them my situation, what I could or couldn't do, and let them know I'd be calling every Monday until I got total resolution on the issue. And you know what happened? They screamed like bloody murder on the first Monday. They just screamed, we're gonna chase you down and we're gonna do everything possible to you. I understand. But I'm gonna work now for the rest of this week, and I'm not gonna take any calls, I'm not gonna return any calls, I'm not gonna look at any mail, I'm not gonna do anything. Do what you need to do. But next Monday I'll call you and I'll give you an update. Have a nice day. And some of them I had to hang up on because they were screaming at me. Okay? And the reasons why I was in the situation aren't even important. So the next Monday, I called them up and half of them were shocked. And some of them screamed at me again. Well, we got you on the phone again and we're going to get you. We're going to do all this stuff. I understand. I get it. Here's my situation. Here's what I've done since last Monday when I talked to you last time. I've done this and I've done this. I've done this. I've done this. I've done this. I'm working to be able to create a better situation. Here's what I can do this week. If it's not, some of them it was nothing. Some of them it was a very small amount. I'll call you next week. And by about week 4, they all just said, hey, thanks for the update. I really appreciate it. Thanks for not making us chase you. Thanks for letting us know what's going on. Because until I did that, they were just screaming at me. They were calling relentlessly, like all hours of the day and night. They were sending all the nasty letters, all these different kinds of things, and creating stress all week long. And I was focused on it all week long, so I wasn't even productive. So I just told them, look, I'm going to do this in these 3 hours. I'm going to talk to everybody I need to talk to. I'm going to tell you the truth. And a week from now, I'll give you an update. And now I'm going to go to work. Have a good week. And those that didn't answer the phone, I gave them that message on their voicemail, and it changed everything. Because I literally, once that 3-hour period was over, I closed the book on it. I was done. I left all the messages, made all the calls. They knew I was not going to take any calls or engage with them in any way in the week, in the week between. And I was free to be able to go to work. So this is an example of being on purpose and being creative, because sometimes when people get financial struggles like this, you know what they do? They hide. They put their head in the sand. They run away from the situation. They don't call people. They don't answer their phone calls. They ignore the mail. They ignore the calls. They ignore the creditors. And it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse until it finally snaps. This was a better problem solving, a creative problem solving situation for me. And I knew that if I didn't get back focused on work, if I didn't get back on focused work, the financial struggles was just going to get worse. So if Armageddon happens, get small, compartmentalize, and focus your work. Now, I would also tell you similar is personal struggles. Try to compartmentalize that too. And work on that. I mean, because anytime you have a problem that shows up in your life, that consumes you, that takes over your life, that's all you think about, you have to figure out a way to survive inside of that environment. So if it's a health issue inside of the family, let's say it's a traumatic, difficult thing, but you still need to survive, and you still need to provide for the family or whatever, and you haven't built up your residual income in network marketing enough to give you all that freedom. Well, then find a way to compartmentalize an hour a day that you're going to totally focus on that. And then you're going to go, or 2 hours a day, or whatever it is. But then you're going to go back to work and put your mind back on the work to be able to solve the problem ultimately. Whether it's all these different kinds of things. This is excellent advice, in my opinion, when it comes to a formula for doing this. All right. Here's what I talk about all the time. Think bigger, be stronger, move faster. Now, you might ask, what does that have to do with problem solving? Everything. Everything. Because if you're thinking big, you're not going to let a little problem knock you off course. If you're thinking big, you won't even see the little problem. If your aspirations are bigger than your problems, you will go towards that aspiration and you will get past the problem. Because look, if your vision is bigger than your problem, you'll go towards that vision. If your problem is bigger than your vision, you'll go towards the problem. Okay? That's how it works for me. So thinking bigger is a big deal. Really big deal. Second thing is be stronger. It's like, come on. You can tell the size of the man by the size of the problem it takes to get him down. Get stronger. Stand up. Stop being such a wimp. Stop whining about it. Stop crying about it. Get in there, get resourceful. What could I learn? What could I do? Who could I model? Who could I ask? Don't ask first. Come on. Don't wait for somebody else to show up. Set your standard and go after it. Okay? So be stronger. Do it now. And be the strongest version of yourself in the face of obstacles, knowing that obstacles are the way that you are going, the obstacles are going to lead you to the solutions that you're looking for. And move faster. If you're going fast, guess where problems take root? I heard this from Jeff Roberti. He said the heavy chains of worry are always forged in idle moments. So in other words, when you slow down, when you stop, the problems just pile on and pile on. And you're sitting there, they pile on and they pile on. If you're moving, it's like the problems just are falling off. because of your velocity. You're moving, you got stuff going on. You're not so focused on that thing. You're not so needy about that person. You're not so influenced by that one person's opinion of you. You're not so destroyed by one person in your organization leaving and quitting. You're not so wrecked because your upline hurt your feelings. Number one, you're stronger. You view yourself as the upline, doesn't matter. You're thinking bigger than that anyway. Their opinion of you is not that important, and you're moving. You got it going, right? So think in terms of that. Think in terms of that type of posture. And you'll find that problems, as far as they won't define you, but if you're a stronger person, are you going to be a better problem solver? The answer is of course. If you're thinking bigger, you're going to be a better problem solver. The answer is of course. You're moving faster. Is that by itself going to help you solve some problems? The answer is of course. What I want all of you to do is upgrade the size of the problem that you're able to solve. Upgrade the size of the problem. Because when you first start in network marketing, the problem might be there's a person who needs my product and doesn't have my product, doesn't know about my product. I'm going to educate them about my product. That's it. The problem might be even before that. I'm too afraid to call anybody. Solve that problem, right? This will help you. Then the problem might be educating somebody about your product. Solve that problem. Then educating somebody about your opportunity. Solve that problem. Answering objections. Solve that problem. Build a little team. Solve that problem. Create duplication within your organization. Solve that problem, right? But then the problem might be that your city needs a leader. Upgrade the problem that you're able to solve. Become the leader of the city. You might need to grow within a 3-city area around where you live. And there's no great leaders there. Solve the problem. There's no great training there. Solve the problem. There's not a great recognition system within the team. Solve the problem. The culture's all messed up. People are negative and backbiting all the time. Solve the problem. Your company is wanting to expand around the world, but they don't have enough leaders. Be the person who solves that problem. And you can write your own check as big as you want. Upgrade the problems that you are able and willing to solve. I could solve all the problems that I just described to you after 30 years of experience, and the $1 million earners, they can too. Be bigger than your problems. Be bigger than your circumstance. Some people quit network marketing. They quit network marketing because somebody hurt their feelings. They walk away from network marketing as a form of distribution because their company went out of business. Companies go out of business every day in every profession in the world. But because theirs went out of business, they just said, nope, never again, it's not going to happen, I'm out of here. Or their company lost momentum, and instead of growing like this, they flattened out. Or maybe they went in a little bit of a decline, and they say, oh, I guess it's over, and they quit. That's a low-class problem. Our company is going to go through periods of time over the next 10, 20, 30 years when they have struggle. The answer is, of course, every company. Are there going to be companies that go down sometimes? Yes. Are there going to be distributors who leave? Of course. Learn how to solve that problem before it arrives. I taught people in my team, it's not a matter of if somebody's going to leave, it's just who and when. People leave for a million reasons. Some people are not willing to face their fears. Some people aren't willing to become good problem solvers. Some people are not willing to work in the face of adversity. Some people need it easy. Some people need to be spoon-fed. Some people have such a big ego that they can't get out of their own way. It's okay. I planted a seed in my organization, said it's okay. Let them go with love. Because we're bigger than that. Now that person leaves and joins another company, they start attacking my team. Well, I have a whole different problem-solving apparatus for that. Set my standard, 0 tolerance, go directly to them, say, hey, I need you to stop, and then escalating. Sometimes that escalation can get pretty aggressive depending on how aggressive they're going to get, but I don't ignore it. If somebody is attacking my team, I don't ignore it, but I talk to them directly. And what I found out is people don't attack a friend. Part of problem solving is just maintaining great relationships with people, staying in communication. Okay? So, Marina, you want to get wired back up? Personal problems, cultural problems, relationship problems, ego problems, company problems. One thing I will tell you is to let go of perfection and just know that you're going to figure out most of this stuff as you go. It's not going to be figured out immediately. So, we've talked about relationships and stuff before, babe, but I'm going to give my 2 cents on solving problems when it comes to relationships, and then I want you to do the same thing, or give your comments on it. Relationships are where problems are. They exist inside of relationships almost always. Almost every problem has a relationship at its core, other than financial problems, or even with financial problems, I found if I built a relationship with the people I had financial trouble with, it diffused the negative energy. If I just can't get myself to take action, that's a relationship with myself that I need to do. But if people find themselves in challenges when it comes to relationship with downline, upline, company, marriage, boyfriend, girlfriend, what's one, two, or three things that you would recommend to them to solve that problem?
Well, first of all, I think that the two key concepts that are need to be in every relationship, it doesn't matter what kind of relationship it is, business or personal relationship, is trust and respect. Without those two, I think nothing gonna happen. It's just a matter of time when that relationship gonna be over. So it's if you want to build a team, you need to build the relationship of trust and respect with your teammates, because people do business with people they like and trust. So first of all, nobody gonna join your team if they don't trust you, and if they don't respect you, nothing gonna happen either. But you always need to remember that's a two-way street. It's always mutual. You have to be able to trust them, and they have to be able to trust you. And the same thing with the respect. If you want to be respected, you need to give the respect first, and that's what's going to build that strong relationship. And because of that, the problems, like when people leave your team, or if they leave your team, that problem is not going to happen that they're going to raid your organization and try to bring it somewhere else, because they have that mutual respect. They have that trust with you that they will not step through those boundaries. So I think it's important, and it's important to have that kind of a relationship with the upline, downline, crossline, the company, because one day you will need to have a serious conversation with your company, because if somebody says something that it's not true about you, you will have to be able to rely on that respect and trust that you've built with your company, so you can show your point of view, so you can say what actually happened from your perspective. And it's the same thing in the marriage. It's the same thing if you're building as a couple. You always have to remember that you're not the enemies. You are in it together. So you want to be able to live your life happy. And of course, because we all different people, we're coming from different backgrounds, we're coming from different, we may have some different upbringing or cultural differences. And we want to be able to be honest with each other. We want to be able to state our disagreements honestly, and not being afraid that you're going to be punished for it, or the person that you live with or building the business with is not going to tell you with the honest truth what they think about the situation. So it's...
Yeah, and let me comment on it. Trust and respect with relationships goes a long, long way. But how do you get there? And I will tell you, in my opinion, how you get there is, number one, let's keep it focused on, let's say, your team, your upline, crossline company. How do you build trust and respect there in order to be able to have a good relationship? One is, people need to know that you're sincere. They need to know that your heart is right, that you're respectful of them, like you say, but also that you care, that you care about them. You care about them as people. You're sincere in your beliefs about them. So if you care about your team, you care about your upline, you care about your crossline, you care about your company, they're going to figure that out. And they'll be able to read whether you're sincere or not. So sincerity is really, really important. And then the second part of that is communication. You've got to be willing to openly communicate your needs, connected with their needs, to figure out how to mutually solve whatever problem exists. You know, they've got their perspective, you got your perspective. You got to communicate, not just once, but regularly, in order for people to be able to come to common ground with you.
Right.
And third, I would say that consistency is important too. You can't just do it one time and then disappear. You've got to consistently stay in communications with those people that are important to you, or where there's challenge. You can't just bounce in one time, have one little really important talk, and then disappear. That sincerity, that communication, that consistency is going to help you be a more effective problem solver over time. I mean, the real key to all of this stuff is deciding that you're going to be the catalyst and the bridge builder between you and another person. You're not going to have your ego so out of control that, nope, they've got to come to me first. Nope, they got to talk to me first. Nope, they have to apologize first. Well, if you stay in that space, ego-wise, I think ego is one of the biggest enemies there is to problem solving. You end up with a smaller and smaller and smaller life the bigger and bigger your ego gets when it comes to building relationship with other people. So also, when you're in communication with other people, let them know your standards. You know, not just saying, here's what's important to me. Trust and respect is important to me. This type of behavior, when it happens, this drives me bananas. I cannot live with it. So can we come up with a solution together? Let people know your standards, and it's okay, and also give them permission to be outside of your orbit in life. If they don't want to live to your standard and they're going to want, but that's fine. They just don't get to be that close to you. They can have that standard someplace else. If somebody's going to be a drunk all the time, they're going to show up drunk all the time. They just don't get to hang out with you. If somebody's going to be sleeping around all the time, they just don't get to hang out with you. If somebody's going to be negative and pessimistic all the time, they don't have to follow. You're not their boss, but maybe they don't get to hang out with you. They don't get to associate themselves with you. They don't get to put their brand on top of your brand. So think about that. Any other thoughts?
You just need to teach people how do you want to be treated. And I heard one of the speakers said, the most powerful women said that you just need to teach people what is okay, what is not okay, because sometimes we don't know. We all have different standards and different expectations, and some things that gonna go well with one person is not necessarily gonna go well with another person. So you need to set up your standards, like Eric said, and teach people how do you want to be treated, what is okay and what is not okay with you. And that not just with personal relationship inside of the team, you want to create it as a culture for your entire organization. What is okay, how you're going to be treated inside of this organization, and how you're going to be treated inside of this company. This is our culture. This is what we're known for. This is what we want to be known for as a company or as a team that produces the results, that creates the tools and trainings necessary. It helps people to rise up and become better leaders and the best problem solvers, instead of the team who is constantly whining and blaming and complaining on everything possible. So you as a leader need to decide what you want your team to be known for, and guess what? It starts with you, because you need to set the pace and you need to set those standards up. And like Eric said, in life we all have different ways that we want to show our significance, and sometimes that significance takes in weird ways. Sometimes it grows into huge ego that people just cannot get over with or get over, and you just need to realize that being always right is not necessarily going to serve you the best. You just want to make sure that you include people inside of your team. You set the standards, how you want to be treated. You set the standards, what is okay inside of your organization, inside of your group, and solve the problem one at a time, but not, create a monster inside of the organization or be the monster that everybody don't know what to do with.
Yeah. Like I said, we talked about the best defense is a fast offense. The way my friend Tony Robbins says it is, kill the monster when it's a baby. Kill the monster when it's a baby. Don't let it grow. Don't let it get bigger. If you deal with it quickly, you can deal with it effectively. So we hope you got some ideas here, some value here. A lot of this is going to come from experience. A lot of this is going to come from a decision that you're going to not run away from problems or give them to somebody else. Some people are professional just saying, hey, here's a problem. They go to their upline, here's a problem. They go to the company, here's a problem. People get really weary of people who are dumping their problems on somebody else. Take care of your own problems. Solve your own situations, right? Build bridges in every direction and become more resourceful, become more powerful. Think bigger, be stronger, and move faster. All right. So that's our training for this month. I hope you got value from it. Those of you who are just watching independently just got this to solve some problems. We hope you got value. If you'd like to connect with us inside of GoPro Academy, click on the link below and get yourself connected to GoPro Academy. Get access to all the courses plus all the previous trainings. We know you get value there, and we're continuing to add value every single month. All right. Everybody have a great month. Have a great day. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.
Bye.